Thank you, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member DeLauro, Chairman Harris, Ranking Member Bishop. Thank you all for bringing us together under regular order to consider this bill. U.S. agriculture impacts every American. And it actually is the lifeblood of each of us and of all the individuals we represent. We look across our country and we see farmers, ranchers, urban growers now, and our rural producers who serve Americans all the way from our heartland, which I represent, and coast to coast. This legislation is important whether you live in a city or on farmland. It funds the programs that keep our food and agricultural supply chains functioning for the American people. And also, with exports, adding additional economic growth to our farmers and agricultural communities. A sector that supports roughly 1/5 of our nation's economic activity and about 1.5 trillion of our GDP. That's pretty good. Put simply, investing in American agriculture is food security for our own people, but it's also investing in our national and economic security. The share of our economy represented by domestic agriculture, unfortunately, has declined, while imports of foreign-produced food have risen. Every imported food, guess what? We can grow and produce here, and it's a lost opportunity for America. I want to thank Chairman Harris for his sensitivity to this issue of the displacement of imports with U.S.-produced product, because what America makes and grows America. With that in mind, I want to highlight several areas of this bill that fall short for my constituents in northwestern Ohio and for rural communities across our country. First, the rising cost of everything. Everyday Americans, including our neighbors and the farmers I represent in Northwest Ohio, are struggling to make ends meet. Farmers' margins are razor thin. They are facing drought, tariffs, escalating input costs driven by global instability due to the president's war of choice, and unresolved issues like permanent extension of year-round E15 sales. Frankly, I want to go to E30, E60. Brazil's doing that. We got a long way to go, but half our income in field production in corn and soy now goes into fuels. Without that, these farmers would be bankrupt, and America needs to understand that. This bill does not do enough to help them. It cuts in half the loan guarantees under the Rural Energy for America program known as REAP, and I'm also deeply concerned about the 60% cut, a $3 million reduction, to the USDA Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. Frankly, we have four-season houses in our area raising fruits and vegetables to displace imports. You have to recognize the new American agriculture that is rising around us. Fertilizer and energy costs have nearly doubled for greenhouses, and I represent one of the largest, if not the largest, greenhouse landscape capital of the United States, home to the warmest coast of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie South Shore, and the fertile soils of what was called the Great Black Swamp. We have enormous potential, but greenhouses cannot survive or expand when energy costs literally strangle them. Cutting the one USDA office dedicated to urban agriculture undermines efforts to diversify production, strengthen local supply chains, catch up with where science is leading us, and build the next generation of American growers. Second, we must rebuild local and regional food systems. This bill eliminates funding for the Agriculture Marketing Services Micro Grants for Food Security Program, which helps communities grow food through small-scale gardening that they can increase, herding, and livestock operations. It also reduces funding for the Healthy Food Financing Initiative, which helps retailers overcome barriers to serving rural and low-income communities. And as many dear colleagues know, I am laser-focused on connecting producers with local food school programs so our children can access more locally grown fruits, vegetables, grains, and other food, milk, and other locally produced food. But cost is a major barrier. School meal reimbursement rates need to reflect inflation, supply chain pressures, and labor costs. Students, by the way, don't like the food they're eating in the schools. Just ask your kids when you go out into the schools. America has to do better. Schools also need more kitchen capacity for scratch cooking, especially in rural America. Yet this bill cuts school breakfast equipment grants by 50%, or $5 million. Third, we must invest in the future. Research funding is essential to countering pests, invasive species, and threats to soil and plant health. Yet this bill cuts NIFA research equipment grants by $3 million and reduces the Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program by 17%, or $8 million. These cuts slow farmer-driven research and hinder efforts to protect working lands and watersheds, including the largest watershed in the entire Great Lakes, which I have the privilege of representing, the Western Lake Erie Basin. In closing, Mr. Chairman, I recognize we face tough choices, and these are finite resources. While this bill certainly improves on the president's budget, it still falls short. It needs amendment, but where the president shortchanges farmers in rural communities, this committee has the responsibility to make up the difference, because protecting their interests is protecting the nation's interest. If the president can direct $40 billion of U.S. taxpayer funds around the world, including $20 billion to Argentina, to foreign cattle producers, surely Congress can find a fraction of that amount to invest in America's cattlemen and in the energy savings, local food systems, and research programs that I've highlighted that this bill cuts. I hope we can work together to address these shortcomings. Let's at least level fund the programs that help farmers in rural communities manage rising energy costs, strengthen local and regional food systems, and support farmer-driven research that protects our soils, watersheds, and the future. Because when we do so, we innovate and increase the percent of our GDP and nation's economic activity from the food and agricultural sector. Thank you for your attention, because what America makes and grows America. I yield back.